forest, he lives in a van. Forest in forest.
Good morning, how's everyone doing? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy third birthday to Rocco as well. So we're doing a New Year's Eve mission up to Lost Lake today in the Bonington Mountains. Maybe try to get to the top of Commonwealth Peak if conditions look good. Goal for 2025, you know, like try to stay alive, same as always. But yeah, I have no Cody Townhouse, but I think we're gonna find some good skiing up here today. I'm not convinced I want to ski back down this way. It's really steep and narrow. There might be a potential to ski down the south face of Commonwealth, take a different road back. We'll see. So we made it up to Lost Lake in 3.5 hours, all thanks to the snowmobile trail. If that wasn't there, this would have taken all day long. Yeah, it's Commonwealth Peak up there. Just trying to figure out a good way to climb up there. Snowmobile trail continues this way over to the ridgeline. We'll check this out. The snowmobile trail abruptly ended at that cabin back there. Looked real cozy. There are people in it, otherwise I would have probably stopped and taken a look. Yeah, continue up, see what we can find. Feels a bit wind affected here on this south face, but I'm not too concerned. The slope is so mild. Daylight is slipping away from me quickly though. Gotta get up here fast, tag this summit, get skiing down. The depth perception is terrible. There you go, a fun ski summit here in the Bonington Mountains. I'm going to try to take a different way back by skiing down through that bowl, and hopefully it connects onto a different road out of here. Fingers crossed, no idea if it'll actually work. Should be an adventure. Definitely a little wind hammered over here, a bit slabbier. Hopefully once I get down lower, it'll transition back into that deep bottomless powder. I'm excited to go skiing. It's looking good. Yeah, that was easily my favorite ski run yet. Everything I've done so far has been a bit on the short side, but that one definitely scratched the itch. But this time of year, it marks 4 years of living in this Chevy Express van, so I just want to do a review of the van and the components inside it. So this is a 2016. It's got the Quigley 4x4 conversion on it with a 3-inch lift. Got almost 230,000 kilometers on the odometer now, and I've done like all the usual mechanical maintenance of brakes and shocks. I've done upper ball joints, the wheel bearings. There was a U-joint on the drive shaft I had to replace, and a couple other things, all pretty routine. There was a moment when like everything was happening all at once, and I got a little scared and panicked. But like once I got over that hump, it seems to be okay after that. The one thing that has been a major headache with this van is the StabiliTrak traction control. It's cost me a lot of money and a lot of downtime before it was fully fixed. I went through 2 ABS modules and the engine ECU before they finally figured out what the problem was. It turned out some wires leading to the rear wheel speed sensors were rotten, and all they had to do was splice in some new wiring, and like it's been mostly okay ever since. This one on this side, it still goes rotten like once every 8 months. It takes me like 10 minutes to splice in some new wiring, then I'm good to go again. I'm not sure why it does that. Maybe next time I'll also try putting in a new wheel speed sensor, and maybe that'll fix it. More recently, something very scary and possibly life-threatening happened with this van. The 4 years of going down all these back roads over washboard and potholes finally caught up to me. I remember hitting a pothole fairly hard, and I think that's the moment that it happened. On this rear shock, the upper mounting bracket cracked and the shock broke free, so it was still bolted in on the bottom, and it just swung straight down and positioned itself like a pole vault. I couldn't hear any grinding noises or anything, and I'm pretty sure I drove at least 30 kilometers like that at highway speed. Had it gotten snagged in a pothole or on some train tracks, it could have easily like ripped off the whole rear axle, rolled the van over, and seriously injured myself and Rocco. But I haven't been able to get that fixed yet. I've just been driving around with one rear shock because it's the holiday season, and most shops are closed or booked up. So I need to find someone who can weld that rear bracket, and also probably take this shock off as well and inspect, make sure it's not cracked, and maybe reinforce it. But this is a 2500 van, and last I put it on a scale, it was right on the GVWR, so that definitely does not help. And in the future, next time I get a van, it'll probably be the 3500. I'd also like to review the components inside the van. They've been through a lot of road abuse at this point, so anything that's still surviving must be a decently built product. So we'll start out here with this 49-liter truck fridge. Starting on the outside, their included closing mechanism broke pretty quickly on me. I was having issues, like hit a pothole and the door would go flying open and just spill all my food across the van. So I just wound up putting my own latch on the outside to keep it closed. 49 liters is, it's on the small side. Sometimes I wish I had a little more, maybe at least 60 or 70. It's got a little freezer on here. You can squeeze a few things in there. But once every 2 or 3 months, it really like ices up and you lose all your real estate. I normally try to park the van on a slant like this, and then I unplug it and just let it sit for a few hours to melt out, then just scoop out all the water. And then the MaxFan Deluxe roof fan. These have a terrible reputation online for being poor quality, and mine definitely lived up to that hype. The control panel burned out on me within the first month of owning it. I honestly didn't like this control panel anyway. It was kind of awkward to be pressing the buttons up here, so I just directly wired the motor into my own little control panel that I got off Amazon. It's got forward, reverse, and speed control on there. It's much more convenient to use where it's right there in front of me. And because this is a brushed motor, they tend to be squeaky, and I managed to fix that on mine. If you got half an hour, you can open up the motor. Then all you have to do is sand down the brushes a little bit. And since I did that, mine has been perfectly quiet again. So I continue to use it. Otherwise, there is this other Air Plus roof vent on the market now that has a brushless motor, which looks like a pretty good candidate. And then the Cubic Mini Cub wood stove, my favorite thing that I've installed into this van. Just a warm, cozy heat, doesn't use any electricity, and I can cook on it as well. I get comments all the time like, why don't I clean the glass more often? It's so easy. All you have to do is wet a paper towel and put some ash on it and scrub it down. The problem is it's such a small wood stove, and any variation in the temperature when it's heating up or cooling down, that glass just instantly gets coated in carbon. There's no avoiding it, so I find it's better to just let it have a patina on there. I can still see the flames and everything. It's just the way it is. And it used to have another lever on here for controlling the draft on the back side. I found it didn't really do very much. All it did was rattle and make noises as I was driving down the road, so I just wound up cutting that off completely. I find just having the one draft on the front is enough. And then on the inside, there's something wrong with this one fire brick. It always shifts forward when I drive. I have to push that back in before I start a fire. And there used to be these two screws up on the top that held in these metal panels. You're supposed to be able to remove them, and it helps like when you're doing a full chimney sweep to get the brush all the way down into the stove. But those screws have since like completely rotted off, and there's no removing them. But I can keep an eye on the chimney from above. I can just look down, and it's such a short chimney. Like I've never had any problems with creosote buildup, and I also burn like a lot of pine and spruce in here, but it stays completely clean. My Canadian Tire Master Chef induction cooktop still going strong after all this time. Use it on a daily basis. Pretty great product. I started out with one of the cheaper knockoff 5 kilowatt diesel heaters. I just found it always smelled like burning plastic. I had it apart a number of times, couldn't figure out why, but I feel like when you're living in a small space like this full time that air quality should be a priority. So I wound up taking a plunge and getting one of the more expensive S-bar heaters, and it's been a good, reliable product for me. At first, I didn't like the controller because it only operates off a thermostat. I was having problems where it would go fast, slow, turn off for 20 minutes, turn back on, and it was really hard to sleep with all the inconsistent noise. But I quickly found out that it has a low heat mode that you can turn on. Then I just set it to like 19 degrees Celsius overnight, and it just drones away at one speed, so I've been okay with that. And I also started out with having the 15-liter diesel tank mounted inside behind that door, and I was always catching fumes off it, so I decided to move it onto the rear door there, which is a much better position. I can just pull up to a pump now and fill my gas and diesel without having to reposition the van, which is really convenient. And then down here is the bulk of my electronic components. I've got a Linac True Series lithium battery with 200 amp hour usable capacity. It's been an excellent product, and I have no want for any more capacity than that. It's been a good amount. I believe I'm maxed out on how quickly I can charge it though. I've got a 60 amp DC to DC charger. It'd be amazing if I could charge this at 80 or even 100 amps. All the less driving I have to do to stay topped up, the better. Just like in Canada, for most of the year and the places that I visit, solar is just not going to do me much good, so I just charge off the engine alone. Sadly, this Renogy DC to DC charger has not been a good product for me. I'm embarrassed to say that I am on my third one right now. It's just like the way I size the area and position the wires, it's the only one that'll fit in there correctly. I believe I tried to order a Victron last time though. They just wouldn't ship it to a post office, and I was in a pinch, so I went with Renogy for the third time, and it's likely going to break down on me again in the future. On the other hand, the Renogy inverter, the 2000 watt pure sine, it's been a good product for me. I mean, I can run an induction off that, an air fryer, it's done the trick. In terms of the interior layout, as far as I'm concerned, I nailed it. If I was starting all over again, I would change very little. I'd probably stick with the same van aside from going up to the 3500. I'd want to have the same length, the same height. I have no desire to have a high roof, perfectly happy with a low roof. I'd want to have 4x4, once again, especially through the winter when I'm getting stuck on almost a daily basis, and also the 3-inch lift. Been very pleased with the off-road capabilities with this van. It actually does more than I need it to. One thing that needs improvement is insulation. I was building this van in parking lots through the winter. I was pinched for time, so I kind of just skipped right past that step. So hopefully I can do a much better job on that next time. And I might leave the cabinetry to like a professional woodworker next time just so that it looks a little nicer. But yeah, stuff to think about. Something I've been thinking about is Commonwealth Mountain Round 2. Just such a fun run, so I think I need to head up there once again. Oh, so good. So good. What the heck?